Welcome back to Cooking or Something Like It. My name is Jody. We have a special treat for you today. This is actually our first remote shoot. We are here with the owner of TogaNola, which is a granola and granola bar company in Saratoga. This is also my little sister. So this is Kate, and she's going to help us out and show us how to make loose granola today. Just some of the administrative stuff before we get into this too far. Obviously, if you like the videos, you're watching this, so I'm guessing you do. Share the Facebook page, share the videos, tell your friends, tell your enemies. We also have an Instagram page, we have a Twitter account, we have a YouTube channel, so please check those out. You can find all of those on our website, which is cookingorsomethingLikeIt.com. All the old videos and recipes are also posted there. So we have everything here ready to go. I'm going to turn it over to Kate. I will chime in with my incredibly witty banter that you all love, and she's going to show us how to make granola. So go for it. Tell us a little about the company, and let's get into it.
Awesome. Thanks, Big Bro. So my name is Kate Rhodes. I am the owner of TogaNola, so Saratoga Granola, TogaNola. And we are based out of Saratoga Springs, New York area, and we are a granola and granola products company, and we have a couple of business practices that we really abide by and we feel passionate about. One of the big things for us is locally sourced ingredients. Whenever possible, viable, we always go to local distributors and producers because it's so important to shop local. We encourage you to do so by buying our products, but of course, it feels great to know that when you buy our products, it's really a ripple effect. You're also supporting the folks that we support and so on and so forth. So that's really great. And I'll talk a little bit as we go about, where we source some of these ingredients from. Some we produce ourselves. Some we get from local vendors that are all awesome people.
So the loose granola is not your main product. What is the main thing that you sell?
Yeah, so really our flagship product is our granola bars. So a couple of them here. This is our proprietary recipe, and if I did this on camera, I'd have to kill you, so I can't do that. But we are going to do our loose granola, and it's a super simple recipe. We also sell the loose granola, but honestly, you can make it at home fairly easily, and it's simple in the sense that you can switch out ingredients fairly readily, and we'll talk about how, some of the recommendations for doing that as we go along.
So there's your shameless plug. So let's get into it. What do we got on the table here?
Okay, perfect. So with the loose granola, we always start with oats. Personally, TogaNola, we always start with organic gluten-free oats that we source out in New York. We do about 4 cups of just the standard oats. And then we also have a 1/3 of a cup of just ground oats over here. So this is something that's going to help. When it comes to loose granola, anybody can just throw some ingredients together and put it in the oven.
As a side note, she struggled intensely to not call this oatmeal.
Oh,
we had a long discussion as to what we were going to call this, whether it's going to be oatmeal.
Right?
We decided on ground oats. So
ground oats.
A little behind the scenes for you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So really, you just take a bunch of oats, throw them in the food processor, have some extra set aside if that's a little easier for you from a cleanup standpoint. And don't worry about getting this down to a really fine, flour base. This is just, you're going to grind it down a little bit so it's slightly smaller pieces, because we really want to go for those big clusters in the granola. That's the stuff that people always struggle with in terms of you can throw oats on a pan and cook them all day long, but how do you get that really nice cluster that you can just eat while you're walking down the trail or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's really palatable. So we've got a 1/3 cup of that ground oats. We've got a 1/2 cup of, in this case, almonds. These almonds are from Kariba Farms, which is farm just outside of the New York, New Jersey border that we work with, and we get a lot of our products from them because they're very small, and they make most of their products right on site there.
So what we'll do at the end of this, probably when I post the blog, I'll have Kate send me the contact info for any of these farms, anything like that. So if you're interested in that, I will make sure it gets up on the blog.
Yeah, perfect. From there, we've got a little bit of flaxseed. And once again, with these nuts, this could be anything. This could be cashews. This could be, if you want to substitute because you have a nut allergy in your family, that can be pepitas, salted pumpkin seeds. We'll do a lot in our bars where we want to, get the nuts out of there and make it allergy friendly. I usually do a seed, about a tablespoon of these. So flaxseed, chia seed, sunflower seeds, whatever it is that works for you personally. And then we have a little bit of cinnamon. Once again, this can really be any spice: cinnamon, allspice, clove, whatever your taste palette is good for.
Traditional cinnamon, or is that Ceylon?
This is, I believe this is the Ceylon cinnamon. Yeah, that we usually have. So that's our dry ingredients. From there, we have our wet ingredients, and those will be combined separately. We have about a tablespoon of, we use organic virgin coconut oil. Doesn't have to be, you know, that fancy if that's not what you have in house, but I do recommend coconut oil versus another type of oil for use in the product. About a half a cup of honey. We always use locally sourced honey. We get our honey through Better Bee, which is out in Greenwich, I believe. Yep, Greenwich. And they have all their bees in the Adirondack area sourcing their honey locally. So that's a company that we really like to work with and support. Unsweetened applesauce. We don't use any refined sweeteners, you know, sugars, any brown sugar, anything like that in our products. Same thing with our applesauce. A lot of times we'll make the applesauce ourselves from locally sourced New York apples. You know, go ahead and produce the applesauce and just don't add any sweetener in there. And honestly, the apples themselves, when you get them in season from a local source, they're so sweet on their own that you really don't need to. And then the last but not least, we have our sea salt. We'll just do a little pinch of this, and our homemade vanilla extract.
So I want to step in because this is super cool. And I didn't realize this. When she pulled this out, obviously the whole kitchen smells like vanilla. These are vanilla beans soaking in vodka. It's that easy to make your own
really
vanilla
is.
extract. And
Yeah.
I had no idea. I will certainly be doing this, but really, vanilla beans jammed in a vodka bottle for a month?
Yeah, about a month. If they're new vanilla beans, I would say about a month to 2 months until it gets this really nice dark color to it. You can actually recycle the vanilla beans. If you're using this at home and you don't need quite as strong of a flavor, you just have to let them soak a little longer, more like, I would say 4 to 6 months on the second round. And it'll pull that flavor out really well even on that second round.
But vanilla extract is terribly expensive. So this is a good little tip for anybody that uses a fair amount baking. I certainly know I'm going to be doing that when we get back to my kitchen. So
yeah.
All right, so
and then of course the most important ingredient.
Right, you know.
Local craft beer. So support local craft breweries. Always important.
All right, so a lot of information right there. I promised you the recipe will be up. In fact, we're going to put it up over the video here when we turn the mixer on. I'm going to shut the audio off while we do that. There's a hint to the editor. That we're going to shut the audio off so we don't blast you out. And we'll put some of the information on the ingredient list. And I promise the vendors that she gets these from will be listed in the recipe. So let's get going here.
Okay, perfect. So I always start with turning the oven on. That's important. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to 300 degrees. So we'll get that going, preheating. And then from there, dry ingredients go first. So I've got this big fancy KitchenAid mixer back here.
I'm going to move all the wet ingredients out.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah. My sous chef over here.
I'm not used to playing second fiddle. So.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take over the series.
Oh, go for it. People may like you more. Who knows? So.
But your witty banter.
I know. It's really the clutch of the whole series.
Yeah. So you know, I have this fancy KitchenAid mixer. You really don't need it for this. I have this in house because we do their granola bars. We do small batch bake, but we do enough that it justifies having some of this.
Is that the one I gave you?
It is, yes. Yep. So only reason TogaNola runs on a daily basis is because of Jody. So, but yeah, you can hand mix all this stuff. You don't need anything fancy, but we have it, so we're gonna use it because we're lazy. So first, being honest, we're gonna put the oats. The ground oats, go ahead and throw those in there. Oatmeal, the oatmeal, the nuts, any of those dry ingredients, a cinnamon, allspice, any kind of spices that you want to.
So you mix them all, no specific order, you just put them all in.
Yeah, just throw it in, super, super simple, yeah. And then the subtleties come with, once again, creating those clusters, but even that's not that complex. So I definitely encourage everyone to try this. So I'm just going to do one round of the sea salt, and that sea salt is really just going to kind of enhance those sweet flavors, those natural sweet flavors. So you just want a pinch of that in there. So set all this stuff aside. Take a sip of our beer.
Critical.
Then we're going to put it on the mixer.
If you guys haven't noticed, she was incredibly nervous about doing this. And she's doing a great job. So,
oh, thank you. So, I've never been on camera like this before, so I'm just making stuff up. So
my immense audience of viewers seeing a first-time actress here.
Hey, well, you know what? This is forever immortalized, so I have to keep that in mind when I'm famous,
All right, so we're going to throw the mixer on. We're going to kill the audio for a second. We're going to put the list of ingredients up while we do this, so take a look and we'll try not to blast you out with this. So go ahead.
Cool.
All right, so we're gonna do the wet ingredients now. We've moved the camera a little bit, being on location. We are limited to just one camera. I know we're kind of slumming it here, but so we're gonna turn it back over to Kate to do the wet ingredients, and we'll get this all mixed up.
Okay, perfect. So I showed you the wet ingredients before. I usually like to throw like the honey or the sweetener. Once again, you can use maple syrup or an alternate sweetener if you have an allergy or if you just have a preference, that sort of thing. Our maple syrup we will use in some of our loose granolas, and that is, once again, locally sourced. Mountain Winds Farms is where we get that from. And so it really doesn't matter either way, but I would like to mention the honey tends to cluster just a little bit more easily. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're a big cluster person like me. So I tend to throw in the honey first just because it's so thick, it takes a little bit longer to heat through. So we'll throw that in there. That's about a half a cup of that. Gets a little messy sometimes. There we go.
I'm guessing I'm probably partially cut off here, but nobody wants to see me anyway. So.
It's really all about the granola.
Yeah,
Everybody just get out of the way. And if you want to throw that heat on for me, I keep it fairly low. So the idea here with the wet ingredients is going to be we want to heat them a little bit just to liquefy them so that they combine with the dry ingredients more easily. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. But also what I like to do is just take a few extra seconds when I'm heating the wet ingredients and just let them boil over just for a moment until the top surface is boiled over, and I'll show you that as I do it. And the reason I do that is because it just, while it liquefies everything from a combination standpoint with the dry ingredients, it also thickens it a little bit so that it tends to cluster a little bit more. So we're going to throw our coconut oil in here as well, just a little bit of that. And that'll give it that little undertone of coconut flavor, which is nice. I'll do that to my sous chef. This is really nice having a helper here. All right. Our applesauce goes in next. Hopefully I'm not blocking the camera too much.
Right.
There's that. And last but not least, a splash of vanilla extract. I'm guessing when the recipe will do like a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon or something. I'm not that precise. You probably don't need to be either. So we'll just go like that. And
that's why you make it yourself, because that would have been a $5 splash right there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we just kind of mix that all together, let it start melting down, and then we'll show you that once it starts to boil a little bit, and we're ready to go ahead and combine it. All right. So I'll just leave that alone for a minute. And this is, I don't know if I mentioned, this is on like low medium kind of setting, so you don't want to have it on high and just kind of like boil it right off the bat. It'll get kind of funny on you, and it'll begin to, especially the honey will begin to solidify or crystallize a little bit. So you want to just be patient. When I'm baking, I tend to just kind of have a beer in hand and put some music on, and just helps me not rush through the process because it's going to taste that much better, So and while that's boiling, I'll just mention one of the other big principles of TogaNola. Oh, she's ready to go. Nice timing. One of the other big principles we kind of abide by with TogaNola is our sustainable packaging. So one of the things that I really wanted to focus on when I started the company was avoiding plastic and other non-recyclable and non-compostable type products. So you'll notice with our bars, that's actually a cellulose-based glassine product that we put them in. All of our labels are paper-based. Our loose granola products all come in brown paper bag style packaging. So that's all recyclable. So that's something that we really, sustainable business practices we feel are not only realistic but can be profitable. So that's one of the big things.
Well, this is boiling pretty good now.
Yeah, so this is going to start, you'll see, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, the coconut oil isn't quite all melted down yet, so I'm going to give it another few moments here. But it's starting to boil on the edges, and I'll just stir it just to help that melt down. And what we'll do is just kind of let it just boil over the top just for a second. So it's tempting to pull it off at this point, but I like to just give it that few extra seconds so that you get those extra clusters. And, if you're somebody that wants something broken down a little bit more, you can just pull it off here and combine them all together. So super, super simple, and you can customize it however you want here. So it is starting to kind of boil over the top here, so we'll go ahead and turn that heat off. And then we're just going to combine the wet ingredients with the dry. So nothing fancy, we're just pouring it in. Got my keep calm and bake on spatula here. Important motto. So just get all that goodness in there. And if you find that, this recipe is a little too sweet or not sweet enough, like if you have kids in the house and they want something a little bit sweeter, you can just tweak the maple syrup or honey or sweetener that you're putting in there. So
we're going to throw the mixer on again. We're going to kill the audio. Our incredibly gifted editor will throw on our theme music. And we don't want to blast you out here. So we're going to do this real quick. We're going to keep filming, and then we're going to get this ready to go in the oven. Okay, so that was pretty easy. It's mixed up. It's kind of a thick, pasty consistency.
Yeah.
We have here a simple baking pan. That's all I really know about it so far. So.
He's finding this all out with you. So
I'm learning this at the same time.
Yeah. He doesn't know the magic that happens yet, but we're all going to figure it out together. So just knock all that extra oats and everything off of there. So this is kind of what you're looking at here. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. You just want to make sure everything's thoroughly combined. So it's not rocket science, I just usually let it mix for like 20 seconds or so. Just get everything combined together. And then we're just going to pour it onto whatever kind of pan you have. It does not need to be the size or the style. It's really whatever you have, because we're really just going to visually use the color of the mix to indicate when to pull it out of the oven.
And you can smell that. Like, that is really, those ingredients really came together, and it really smells awesome.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate, actually, because I'll be in the kitchen baking, and people, oh, thank you. People will walk in the door and say, oh my gosh, it smells so great, like granola in here. And I've been immersed in it for so long that I don't even smell it anymore. So I don't get to enjoy that. I have olfactory fatigue, if you will. Big fancy industrial hygiene words. So we're just going to spread it kind of evenly. The important point here is you don't want to really press it like you would with a granola bar. We're just kind of lightly spreading it across the pan here. So I think this is, what did I say this was, a 13 by 9 inch pan?
Bigger than that. It'll be a recipe, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll put it in the recipe, and this is about, I wouldn't put any more than this on a single pan, because when you're piling on top of each other like that, it's not going to bake correctly. So this is about the max I would put on a pan of this size.
Same concept we've talked about when sauteing vegetables. You want to make sure that you have a big enough pan when you're sauteing to let the moisture evaporate. Same thing with something like this. If it's all piled on top of each other, the stuff in the middle is not going to cook. So we have the pan. We have our oven heated up. This is going to go in for...
we're going to do like 20 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and check on it, and we'll show you what it's supposed to look like. And you can see this is pretty, like, visually, aesthetically not super appealing right now because it's a lot of, like, bland colors. We're going to add those colorful, nice fruits after the fact once we pull it out of the oven, and then it's going to be a really nice, kind of fun mix.
So we'll be back when this comes out, and we'll finish this up for you. All right, so we actually ended up cooking this for about 35 minutes. Took a little longer. Normally when they do these, they're cooking more than one tray, so we were a little unsure of the time, but it actually was 35 minutes. That will reflect in the recipe, so we're going to go ahead and pull this tray out.
Okay.
If you can show that to the camera.
Yeah.
So it's a little golden brown, a lot more so than it was. Now normally, Kate was just telling me that she lets this sit for a few minutes. So we're going to let this sit for a couple minutes, and we'll come back and finish it. But I just wanted to show you it coming out of the oven, what it should look like. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. So we've been letting the granola cool for maybe about 10 minutes or so. It's important to do this because when it comes out of the oven, it's still really hot, so it's not going to clump up real well to form those clusters that Kate was talking about. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about with this stuff, so I'm going to turn it back over to her. So go ahead and finish this up.
So one thing I do want to note is sometimes if you go online and you're looking at granola recipes, they will tell you mid-bake that you kind of want to stir everything up. That is a valid point because it will kind of bake everything just a little bit more evenly. but it'll also break up all those clusters that we were trying to make this whole time, if that's what you're going for, like we do. So I don't stir it at all. I just let it do its thing, pull it out of the oven, let it go through that cooling process. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get it up off the pan.
What do we have over here?
And then we're going to add our fruits. Yeah, so before I start that, this particular granola is what we call our Polaris granola. So all of our products are named after local, like public locations, like some of the springs in Saratoga, local mountains, hiking trails, things of that nature, to just kind of bring in that local feel. So the Polaris is, now we have one less raisin to put in there. The Polaris is a local spring in Saratoga with delicious water in it, full of minerals. So I highly recommend visiting that if you're in the area.
Good raisins.
Yeah, they are. They're great raisins. So one of the things I definitely want to point out about the fruits that we use is we are very, 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 very picky about the fruits we put on our products. And the reason for that is generally when you go to the grocery store, you look for dried fruits. If you turn over to the back of that nutrition panel, you'll see that it is chock full of refined sugars. And the reason they do that is because if you try to dry most fruits, things like Thompson raisins and strawberries like we have here, and you don't add a sweetening agent, it's just going to be a shriveled, like hard piece of something not palatable that you don't want to eat. So you have to add some sort of a sugar. Sucrose, like what is in refined sugars, we don't feel is the optimal thing to be adding, even though it's the most common. So we go with the fructoses, which are a lot healthier for the body, a lot more natural. That's the type of sugars that you'll find in fruits. And it's the type of sugars that you'll find in unsweetened apple juice, which is what we generally will have infused with our dried fruits. With that being said, those are really tough to find. Tierra Farms down in Poughkeepsie area and Kariba Farms that I mentioned earlier, those are two of the vendors that we've been able to locate that produce their products in a way that we feel goes along with our business principles and also does not use those refined sugars in the fruits that we purchase from them. So here we have apple juice infused strawberries, dried strawberries. These are a huge hit. People love these. I generally cut them in half because it's a big bite of strawberry if you don't do so, and it spreads a little more evenly through the mix. So we've got about a half a cup of those, about a half a cup of unsulphured organic Thompson raisins. These just happen to be organic. Not all of our ingredients are organic because a lot of small local vendors, while they use organic practices, they just don't have the funds, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to go after that organic label because there's a whole process that goes into that. So rather than eliminating them from our ingredient base, we just make sure that they produce their products in a way that is in agreement with TogaNola principles. So not always organic, but most of our ingredients are organic based just by happenstance. We also have unsulphured, unsweetened coconut flakes in here, and then that will kind of go along with the coconut oil undertones in the background. You can use any combination of fruits here, but once again, I do encourage you to go with fruits that are not, refined sugar infused. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our pan here, and we're just going to kind of get everything up off the pan. This might be a bit of a process that gets a little messy, so don't be afraid to get your hands in there and really break it up. As I mentioned before, we really went after making those clusters with that honey, so some of these pieces are going to be really big chunks that are going to want to stick to the pan a little bit. You can put down coconut oil to help this process a little bit, but I also find it softens the oats a bit more than I like, so I don't do that, and I just deal with the mess that it kind of creates. All right, so I'm going to break these all up, knock oats everywhere.
Anyone who's watched the show at all knows I make a terrible mess. Don't worry about it.
So I'm just going to scoop these in as I go. And you will find oats in every corner of your kitchen after this. If you don't, you weren't doing it right. So just so you know.
So while she's doing that, just a little bit of follow-up on what we said before. Obviously, this is cooking or something like it. Please check out our webpage. All of our old videos are there. All of our recipes are there. That's the best place to find all the archive stuff. Our YouTube channel also has all of our videos. This is the first time we've done one of these on location at another person's kitchen. In this case, it was my little sister with her TogaNola business. But we're going to try and do some stuff that's a little different for you coming up in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this while she finishes jackhammering away at the granola over there. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you have any suggestions, feel free to shoot us an email. I'll be happy to take food or recipe suggestions. We'll try and make them for you. We do have a couple in the hopper that have come at us that way. You can find all our contact information on the website, and let Kate finish us up now.
All right. So we've got our granola. If you kind of followed along with the recipe, you should be getting nice big clusters like this kind of throughout. There are times when I actually get clusters that are so big I have to break them up. So, but that's a good thing. That's definitely the kind of the feel we're going for. So what we're going to do is just, add in these fruits. Throw everything in here. And then you can just kind of toss it together. You can get your hands right in there. Yep. That works too, as long as they're clean. Just get everything kind of evenly dispersed here. You want to do this somewhat gently so you're not breaking up all the clusters that you were trying to form there from the beginning. And there you go. That's it, really.
That's the important part. Yeah. That's just awful.
Are you going to take the whole bowl home with you?
I'm probably going to take the whole bowl home with me. So, there you go. Homemade granola. This is Cooking or Something Like It with TogaNola. Give them one more shout. How do they get a hold of you?
Facebook, TogaNola. Instagram, TogaNola. TogaNola@gmail.com. So it's a unique name, so just type in TogaNola and you'll find us.
Thanks, sis.
Thanks.
See you next time.